here. Time to take an accounting and make changes, right? That's what we do. This year, though, I want to suggest you do something a little different and that you focus on prioritization, but not in the way that you think. I want you to prioritize your life so you're doing more of the things that feed your soul and raise your consciousness and that of the world. So one of my favorite Kabbalistic teachers was David Cooper, rest his soul. And Rabbi David Cooper suggested making a list at this, not necessarily at this time of the year, but of the things that feed your soul. And then to figure out the percentage of the time you're actually doing those things as opposed to not doing them. And then when you have a handle on that, think about what does that gap between doing the things that feed your soul and not doing the things that feed your soul mean to you? You know, what's it costing you to not do the things that really make your heart sing and that jazz you and make you inspired and passionate? What's it cost you? And where will you be in another year or in 5 years or 10 years if you don't prioritize doing those things that feed your soul? And then the other thing you have to do here, or I suggest you do, is you figure out how much of you not doing the things that feed your soul is related to not having enough time because of like this time deficiency syndrome, Rabbi Cooper called it. He called it time deficiency syndrome, TDS, tedious. Because the things we do in life that we have to do or feel we should do or we're expected to do are tedious rather than things that make our heart sing or feed our soul. Also consider what's the quality of your life if you're only doing the tedious things. If you're only doing the things that you have to do or should do or supposed to do or expected to do, as opposed to the things that raise your consciousness and increase your level of happiness and fulfillment. Right? So, you know, on a scale of 1 to 10, what's the quality of your life? Is it where you want it to be? And if you keep on going with this quality of life for another year or 5 years or 10 years, where will you be? Is that where you want to be? Are you willing to be there? So you can calculate the time and the percentage or the percentage of time that you nurture your soul. You can consider it, you know, in terms of hours you spend on those things, right? So, you know, either you're spending 10% or you're spending 5 hours or whatever. And then after you have figured out that amount of time that you're spending on the things that nurture your soul as opposed to not nurture your soul, once you know that, consider how much time you would actually like to spend doing the things that nurture your soul, that feed your soul. And what does that mean to you? How will that change the quality of your life? How will it change the experience of life for you? And at the end of your life, how will you feel if you do that? If you begin doing more of these things that nurture your soul? So if you're spending the amount of time you want nurturing your soul, great. How is that impacting your life? What does it mean to you? And if you're not, what does the gap mean? What is it, you know, what's the impact of that gap on your life and on you? What does it feel like in your heart, in your soul? What are your days like? When you wake up in the morning, how do you feel? How would you like to feel? How could you feel if you were nurturing your soul? So our time is taken up by all kinds of things that don't feed our souls. And we have regrets later in life because we haven't done those things. We haven't fed our soul. And it's only when we get sick or, you know, somebody we know dies or, you know, like for me, my husband had a stroke. You know, these are things that then make us stop and think, right? It makes us stop and think. It kind of collapses time for us. And suddenly we see the end of our life much more clearly. and we want to make changes in our lives now. So we don't want to wait for someone to get a terminal illness or die to be brought back into the moment, into the present, and realize that the future isn't promised to us at all. The items that you have on your list that will feed your soul all take place right now in this moment, or they can. They're not in the future and they're not in the past, because all you have is this moment right now. So you feed your soul in the moment. And that's where your connection to source is, or creator, and your connection to yourself. So you do these activities that you prioritize them and you do them in the moment. And that allows you to connect with source. And it allows you to connect with your spiritual nature, and it releases you from the tedious aspects of life. And that's where prioritizing your life comes in, especially here at the end of the year. You might want to think about that. How are you going to prioritize your life from this perspective? So how could you do that? Like, you're probably thinking, how could I prioritize it? How could I make feeding my soul part of my life? It doesn't feel possible. Well, at a minimum, give yourself 1 hour a day to nurture your soul. That's kind of the minimum daily requirement. And do something that really feeds it, makes your heart sing, jazzes you, floats your boat, right? Something you're passionate about, that's fun, makes you smile, okay? For an hour. And then every day spend 1 minute at least being totally present. 1 minute, that's all it takes. 1 minute. And then think about taking a day off every week to nurture your soul. In most religious traditions, we have or not all, but we have a Sabbath, in many of them. The Judeo-Christian religions, we have a Sabbath. And you don't have to take the whole day even. Take 4 hours if you want, and just be silent or read a book, study something for at least 4 hours. Or, and here's a big one that I really suggest you try, and that is to go on a week-long spiritual retreat every year, kind of like a sabbatical. The word Sabbath, which is a day of rest dedicated to creator or spirituality, that's where the word sabbatical comes from. It's from the word Sabbath. And a sabbatical is basically several Sabbaths put together. So 7 of them if you're going to go away for a week. So I talk a lot about feeding your soul and living a life that feeds your soul. This is definitely my journey, learning to do this. When my husband had his stroke, I had my own wake-up call and thought, I really need to spend more time on these kinds of things. And every week I'm integrating more things. So how are you going to prioritize your life in the new year? Something to start thinking about. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know. If you don't know who I am, I'm Nina Amir, the Inspiration to Creation Coach. I am a certified high performance coach and a transformational coach, and this is my journey. I love helping people get from where they are to where they want to go, to live a life that really is soul aligned and makes them happy and makes them feel passionate and inspired. I want to help them get their human self out of the way so that they can access their spiritual guidance and live from a place of inspiration. So if that's of interest to you, click on the link above for the Inspired Creator Community. That's where I offer personal and spiritual growth, both of which are necessary if you want to become an inspired creator, if you want to step into who you really are, which is a creator, and to tap into your spiritual nature by learning how to move your human nature out of the way a little bit, so you can express as a human, as a spiritual being having this human experience. So again, if you're interested, click on the link above, become an inspired creator. It'd be my honor to work with you. And until I talk to you next time, go out there and achieve more inspired results.